Welcome to live coverage of GP Rotterdam. We're here for round number 4. The format is team sealed. Riley Knight's in the booth alongside the Pro Tour champion Simon Gertzen. A great pleasure to have your company around the world, wherever you've chosen to join us from today. We thank you very much for your company today. The format is team sealed, and on your screen, one of the absolute undisputed masters of this format, Mike Ron, his teammates Alexander Hayne, Richard Hohen. Simon, a wealth of success and experience for this team in the past.
Yes, Mike Ron and Richard Hohen are incredible limited players, and they have won multiple team GPs together, one of them with Alexander Hayne, but also they have split up for team events and then they met in the finals. That shows you how dominant of a force they are.
Mike Ron has 5 GP top 8s to his name. You see him on the screen to the left of your screen now. 5 GP top 8s, and he's won 3 of them, and all of those victories have been in team settings with people like Justin Cohen, Craig Wesco, and of course Rich Hohen as well. So he's no stranger to success. The Triple H team will be looking to take it all the way to the money zone today. A tune with Heather kicking things off for Heron as Kana Atkas opens up with a prophetic prism. Simon, on the other side of the table, however, we do have a team that's certainly worth considering here, because Kana Atkas, Yusuf Kemal Vefa, and Ibrahim Çelik, these guys are all, they represent 3/4 of the Turkish national team. Of course, these guys will be going out at Hammer and Tongs next weekend here in Rotterdam for the World Magic Cup. Yusuf Kemal Vefa has been in the Turkish national team for something like the last 20 years.
Yes, and he basically doesn't miss a European GP. I see him every time at these events, and they're a great crew. It's not so easy to travel from Turkey simply because of the distance, so hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Kana Atkas here as well. He's the national champion for Turkey this year, the team captain going into next weekend. So obviously looking to build a positive team dynamic, get some of that practice under his belt as well for the very complicated team sealed format. In with a Foundry Screecher, nice aggressive creature here backed up by that prophetic prism. And a thriving Rhino from Mike Ron. These green cards have really impressed me today, Simon. We've seen some huge beaters enter the battlefield.
Yes, because also it's difficult to deal with the larger creatures in combat. If you double block, all the instant tricks really make it hard for you. We can't really see the energy right now. We'll try to get that fixed, but it's important that Ron had 4 energy when he started his turn, so he spent 2 of them to grow the Rhino.
Thriving Rhino now a 3 handle by the 0-4 constant. Now he's unloaded. Rashmi turn. Very confused this. Let's have a read of what it does. 4-3. When you cast your first spell, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you cast it without paying your mana cost. If you don't, cast the revealed card and put it into your hand. Essentially lets you cascade off your first spell, and then after that, if you don't cascade it, you draw it instead. So a value machine here. Rashmi Eternity's Crafter opening up the value train. Toot toot, all aboard, she says. And it's back to Kana Atkas here, in for 3 in the air, and a Chief of the Foundry.
Very nice dynamic going on here with the 3-power Rhino bouncing off the Skygate, and now potentially 4-power Rhino would again bounce off the Skygate because of Chief of the Foundry.
Chief of the Foundry, a card that we've seen before, floating around in Origins drafts, of course, just over a year ago, and pretty impressive card there. Always a bit of a workhorse, but here even more of it at an absolute premium here, especially in this artifact-laden set that we have here, Simon.
There is a problem with blocking, which is that Hunt the Weak, taking Chief of the Foundry would be a clear 2. On the other hand, 4 damage is not a low price.
No, certainly something that Atkas will be thinking about here. Atkas will have, of course, studied the list of all the cards to worry about up and down the tables as he heads into the World Magic Cup next week. Looking to make a strong show of things today as well, I imagine. Here is the Hunt the Week you spoke about, Simon. So prescient as ever, my colleague here. And it looks like it's going to be a Gearseeker Serpent drawn off the Eternity's Crafter here.
Interesting card to see in Mike's deck, given that there are no artifacts to speak of.
Card's just a house even as a 7 mana beater. But obviously if you're getting it out for 4 or 5 mana, it's absolutely absurd. Actus, I think, would be happy enough to have a Gearseeker Serpent on his side of things. But as it is now, just the Skygate and the Chief. That is a Gearseeker Serpent in hand, in fact, which you can cast.
Yes, there are the 2 islands, 2 full art islands. Could be cast here for 4 mana. Depends if Connor has something better. He hasn't cast a removal spell on Rashmi, so we have to assume he doesn't have one.
Gearseeker Serpent, its cost being very handily lowered by the 3 artifacts on Actus's table here. So we play here. Try to stabilize this a little bit. Now with the initiative. And it's Armor Judge.
Wow.
Very nice one here. So this 3-2, unassuming 3-2 coming down for 4 mana, or 3-3 I should say. Draw a card. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. We've seen this more and more, Zimon. We've discussed it in the past. We're seeing card draw move away from its traditional home of blue, and this guy here is really showing that green is able to churn through its deck in a pretty convincing fashion.
And Rashmi is consistently providing 1 card a turn from like.
Yeah, already Micron pulling ahead with nice little sequences here.
The best part about it is you can start double blocking very aggressively, and there's not really much that can happen. Of course, you might get 2 for 1, but as long as the game continues, you're almost guaranteed to win with the card.
Absolutely. I mean, Fron just drew 3 cards that turn, thanks to the Armorcraft Judge and the Rashmi. That Rashmi is really impressive far, especially as a 3/4 now. Wow, looks like Fron's happy enough to through there.
Which is another way of getting you accept the 0 to 5 total.
In there, the 1/3 not going to get this game.
Very reasonable.
Dukara Peafowl going down as a 2/4. Obviously stuck it up in the air for 1 blue mana. Looks like Actus really heavy on the artifact theme in his deck.
Yes, not too many. So he's facing around first in hand or non-land hand. All of the Peafowl pump the now suddenly you do have to consider your life total also a bit more carefully. I feel.
Ron, card number 3 from this Rashmi. What an impressive card it means, really. Cards. I mean, that's a deal in itself. The play for Huron. He's considering his attack. An energy of attack right into the ball. P-foul now 3/4. I mean, that's something you're interested in.
I would be surprised to see an attack after having cast it. On the end, give like more damage. 7-drop actually had a relative high to flip a permanent on the Blue Wester.
Consistent piece of commentary we've seen about cards recently. Interesting to see both of these players playing blue cards. Been relatively underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. However, the power level of some of the cards at higher rarities has really impressed a lot of people. I know that. A lot of the rares, Sahili's artistry, this sort of thing. And, you know, some removal there. Malfunction's been good for people up and down the tables as well.
There's a general trend, though, that in the beginning of a format, the cards which are more apparently powerful dominate the scene.
Sure. So you're looking to attack with Riparian Tigers just because it's very obvious it's a good card.
And the more things continue, the less that is true. It's more about synergy. So this is an interesting block here. A 5/6 being blocked by another 5/6 and a 3/3. So it's enough damage to get rid of the Serpent, and you would only lose your weakest creature. But of course now Connor can potentially foil your plans.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a combat trick incoming here, and I've a bit of an idea about which one it might be. We've seen... oh, no, in fact, I'm glad I didn't say which one it was. No one will ever know that I was about to make a mistake. Ether Meltdown has come down. Ether Meltdown, an aura with flash, gaining 2 energy when it enters the battlefield and giving a permanent -4/-0. Critically, it is an answer at instant speed that blue has 2 vehicles. So nice little way to make the attack, the block from Ron there much more anemic. And Actus's Gearseeker Serpent lives to fight another day. But it's another huge beater here from Ron. As we see the Edgecrafters come down. Girapur Edgecrafters enter the battlefield. Again, the Cascade trigger from the Eternity's Crafter has drawn Ron his 4th extra card. So 6 extra cards in total for Micron so far. And Elegant Edgecrafters are going to enter the battlefield as 5/6s rather than the Fabricate 2 being used to create servos.
Yeah, going white, not really a plan on this board and against blue-black evasion anyway. Ron failed to kill the Serpent, so Connor's plan has to be to finish this game sooner rather than later. So I would expect to see, or I don't know if Connor is going to go for that. Definitely would try to development and more on getting damage in. So, for example, the P-Foul is to me the key card to win this game. Attacking for 3, maybe 3 again, and then you try to close out things with activations of Gearseeker Serpent. Trying to stay alive while your opponent is building this huge run.
Looks agrees with that there's the Fuzzy and pecks on the run for 3 damage. It looks like Actus does have a follow-up play as well. Here is Foundry Inspector. So that makes all artifact spells cost 1 less for the Turk here. And the juice just keeps flowing here for Huron, however. On the back of this Rashmi, he's maintained a pretty full hand and has deployed some pretty serious beaters.
Yeah, this is just getting out of hand, but also I'm very surprised to see a black-blue deck that can't deal with a single utility creature.
Yeah, the Rashmi's just sat there continuing to draw cards. That's the 5th card that Tron has drawn. For those who may have missed the card that was drawn, it was Imperial Voyager, the 2/3 flying trample 3-drop there. Another Simic or another blue-green gold card for Micron. And here it is, 2/3 flyer, flying trample, and whenever it connects, you snag yourself an energy counter as well. So a nice way to take to the air for Huron, but he still does need to find some way to deal with the P-Foul. Although I think in this spot with 4 cards in hand and a value engine on the battlefield, he's in a decent spot.
He has more value than he would ever need, and if his cards don't actually stop the bleeding, then he will lose the game. It's you don't just win by generating value, right? You draw a lot of lands that your opponents don't have. Just like you are counting the cards that Rashmi is generating, I can count the lands that Mike has that Connor doesn't. So that's another 4 cards of difference on the other side of.
Huron down to 8 now. It's attack for the with the P-Foul in the air. And we're going to see Filigree Familiar come down the poor man, Solemn Simulacrum. So Huron, as you said, has to find a way, very significant card advantage into a way to bleeding as we see Eris come down, tap to scry in Huron's upkeep. Looks like he's happy with what he drew.
That's a bad sign for Connor because Mike is looking for very specific cards.
And it's a Windrake. Draw a land, play a land, says Micron.
Windrake, actually not enough to double block the P-Foul. But of course, still a chump blocker.
In conjunction with the Imperial Voyager, still not going to be able to kill the 3/5. And here we see the power of the Chief of the Foundry. Takara P-Foul, something of an unassuming card, if you were going to be honest about it, Zimon, as a 2/4. Not a bad utility creature, but still not at the front line of your Air Force. We're seeing it here.
A good way to think about 4-mana 2/4 is already 4-mana 2/4 flying is really good. Really good stats. So you're getting a good deal the long game. And now it could be that since forever wait on the Gearseeker, and he's just toying with his opponent here.
The trade wins here, a nice one. So we're going to see the Gearseeker Serpents both to the hand, and Dai Young is off the top of Huron's library. So finally, and with 7 energy in pool, have a look at that. He can more or less snag whatever he wants here. It's going to be the Chief of the Foundry. So here is where I think Micron turns the corner. If we're going to signpost the way this game has gone and sort of stick a little bit of a bookmark in this particular chapter, this is where Huron may indeed turn the corner.
Yes, but he had been holding this card for a while. I think he was not really concerned of dying. Also, interesting that he evaluates Chief of the Foundry as the bigger threat than, for example, the P-Foul, which to me signifies that he wants now to close out this game within 2, maybe 3 turns.
So, Huron, 2, 4, 7 mana. And it's the Gearseeker Serpent. Trigger Rashmi. Oh, and now look at this. Another Dai Young.
This is crazy, like how much this board changed within 1 turn cycle.
Yeah, just as simple as that. Cards 6 and 7 from Rashmi Eternity's Crafter ended up being pretty good, snagging the P-Foul, and before that, the Chief of the Foundry. And now all of a sudden, Micron is looking at a very favourable board position. He attempts to turn it into a huge swing here. Actus with a little bit of life to play with, but still taking a massive chunk of damage. Ron not choosing not to put a counter on the thriving Rhino.
The main problem being that he doesn't really have good blocks here, and even if he did, there is almost no way for him to make something out of it.
No, leveraging a favourable position here is going to be difficult. Simon, it's interesting to see the way that we discussed this game, talking about how Ron was going to have to turn this advantage he'd gained into some kind of momentum. And it looks as if he's done a pretty good job here of turning this incremental advantage into an advantageous position.
All it took was a single bounce spell. The fact that Rashmi also triggers when you cast an instant in your opponent's turn, of course, making things even sweeter. I've been mentioning combat tricks a lot, but of course, if you are on the defensive, then suddenly they don't look as appealing.
Actus has had well and truly enough of that Eternity's Crafter. Rashmi hitting the bin. Was that on a second one? Is this a second one, or is Mike Ron just throwing these cards around like you wouldn't believe? Unbelievable. A second Eternity's Crafter from Ron, maybe stranded in hand for a while. We haven't had the best view of the player's hand from our position here. He's just played Eternity's Crafter number 2. Rashmi's come down for a bloody encore here, mate.
That's very impressive. Also explains why this team went for a blue-green deck.
Yeah, certainly.
Not that that's a bad choice anyway, but...
certainly unorthodox in many respects. Actus now with the Gearseeker Serpent coming back down. Another encore from this one here. And again, Ron just chucks them all in, and this time pumps up the Rhino as well. And that's going to do it for Actus. The Turk has had well and truly enough here as Ron takes it out in game number 1 in very convincing fashion. I have to say, we had a couple of drips and dribbles at the beginning, but Ron really managed to maneuver himself into an unlosable position there.
Yeah, flawless execution, if you ask me. And that was a pretty long game, so we do actually have a lot of these players. I think there were like three games already finished.
Yeah, we can check in with the results in just a moment, but on the screen you can see there this team of superstars. The Turks with their backs to us here. These guys do represent 75% of the Turkish national team that you'll see at the World Magic Cup next week. But right now, Richard Hohen and Ibrahim Çelik here, these guys are going at it, and you can see all of them on the left-hand side of your screen are up a game, Zimon. Well, sorry, have won a game. Çelik also picking up a game as well. So these guys tied at 1-1. But the Triple H team in a good spot. Fleetwheel Cruiser coming in now. Çelik does have the Fairgrounds Trumpeter in addition to the Key to the City. The Trumpeter, a nice little engine card if you can get things going. Malfist squad looks to have jumped inside the Ferrari there. And is zooming across to give Çelik a bit of a slap. But oh no. Struck by lightning. Down comes the Harness Lightning. But a rush of vitality for the driver in the Fleetwheel Cruiser. And that's going to mean that a 6-3 indestructible vehicle connects with Çelik.
But this means that block isn't necessary to survive here. I think Hohen has even more good to say with. He's holding an unless disintegration. This is not a fair game. Actually, it's one of the big questions of this format to me personally. If you really want to build the black-red deck, given how much removal it takes from your opponent.
So trampling over for 3 there. Hohen choosing to hold on to the unlicensed disintegration.
Yeah, he knows he can win any time, almost independently of what his opponents play.
With his opponent on 3 and a disintegration powered up in hand, Hohen knew that the writing was on the wall for his opponent, and didn't have to muck around too much in terms of sealing that particular deal. So Ibrahim Çelik goes down to Richard Hohen here. first result from this game, or match, I should say, between the team. Alexander Hayne, the Pro Champion, restored PN place, facing off Yusuf Olvefa. This guy has been on the Turkish national team for something like the last 2 decades here, so no stranger to the top levels of Magic. And as you said, Simon, a regular at the European GP circuit.
Yes. This game looks quite lopsided because Hayne doesn't have the mana to deploy his cards. One thing I wanted to mention was that we already knew that Hayne would be on planes because none of the other, or at least it was super likely.
Yep.
And the big question to me was what other color would he be pairing it with? And black is interesting because it means that they are sharing the black between all 3 teammates, with the 2 Dayangs at least, maybe more, being splashed in Mike Ron's blue-green deck.
What are your thoughts when you observe something like that? Are your thoughts immediately that their black must have run very deep and they've got obviously a lot to share around, or is that to just patch up holes that existed in the decks? Because obviously the blue-green deck would have been maybe a little bit short on removal.
I'll answer with the example I just saw. Game 1 with Mike and Connor was basically decided by the inability to deal with the Rashmi. Mike Ron is playing blue-green and could have similar problems if he doesn't draw his Hunt the Week against certain utility creatures or just bombs. By splashing the 2 energy-dependent removal cards, he makes his deck better, he shores up a weakness, and he doesn't take that much away from the other archetypes that are not energy-dependent. So it's just a very smart distribution of options, of resources by the team on the left.
That makes a lot of sense because, I mean, you know, you look at a card like Da Young, which is a good card by itself in a vacuum. 2 mana, -2/-2, no worries. But if you are able to do what Micron did, generate 8, 9, 10 energy, whatever else, you've got a card that essentially just turns into a 2-mana murder.
Yes. How do you maximize your cards? How do you maximize especially the common that you might have multiple of? And which deck can also get away with having that 3rd color? Because it's not, you don't splash in your red-white aggressive vehicle deck.
So now we see Hron with all 3 colors assembled. Green, blue, black. Long Tusk Cub has already gotten into down to business here with the Embral Bruiser hitting the bin. Ether Hub's going to power up Micron's energy pool even further. Energy reserve, I think it is actually.
Wow, that's also an impressive start here.
Oh, and really nice play here from Hron. Interesting to see the +1/+1 counter there. Bit of an eyebrow raise before we see then the Armorcraft Judge coming down to replace itself. The best Shaman of Spring you've ever seen. And our Long Tusk Cub gets in there for 4. Really strong play from Hron here. Now it's up to Actors to find something to answer that.
I'm missing the high impact cards on counter side. The Gearseeker Serpent qualifies, but it's not something where your opponent goes, oh wow, now I really have to change my game.
Yeah, I can't beat this.
Yeah.
That's not what's going through your opponent's head. I mean, even when it's played on turn 5 like this, it is just a 5/6, and you know it's a huge evasive clock by the end of the game. But right now, Hron, as we've just seen, can afford to be very aggressive. Once again, down comes Servant of the Conduit, and Actus just can't block. He just can't block.
He played a 7-drop for 5 mana and couldn't block his opponent's 2-drop.
Yeah, yep. And Hron is happy to put the pedal to the metal here and get Actus down to a very low life total very early with 4 +1/+1 counters on the Long Tusk Cub.
It is his only real threat on this board, on this battlefield. So if Connor just has a way to shut it down or block it profitably with, let's say, a Death Touch creature, he wouldn't really be under that much pressure. But his deck, in both of the games that I've seen, hasn't produced any hard removal or creatures that really impressed me.
No, he's just been spinning the wheels here with Puzzle Knots and Prophetic Prisms and hasn't dug to a lot of action. Foundry Screecher as well isn't going to do a lot on this board. 4 mana for Micron, and it's going to be hunting the weak time. Let's get rid of that Scrounger, and that's going to be enough for Actors. He's going to say, enough's enough, big fella. You've actually completely done me for dinner here as Micron takes it out 2-0, meaning Alexander Hayne and Yusuf Kemalvifa, these guys aren't even going to have to finish their game. Simon Gertzen.
The mana screw of Alexander's second game not becoming relevant in this in this setting.
So pretty convincing victories here from Team Triple H. These guys will be looking to make a deep run into day 2 here with the pedigree that they have as well. Pro Tour championships, GP championships, all sorts of stuff going on here. And by the look of things, as we switch back to this game tied 1-1, the outcome, of course, irrelevant to the outcome of the match. It looks like the players may be discussing exactly that, Simon.
Yeah. Ron and Hayne, each Pro Tour champions. And you've talked about the number of GP victories, especially the number of Team GP victories these three have accumulated.
Yeah, between them, they've got something like 10 or 15 GP victories, not just top 8s, actual victories. So these guys really know how to party. Looks like Yusuf Kemal Kavifa and Alexander Hayne are going to wrap things up, just to bring you all up to speed in case you're not exactly sure how these things go. Two teams sit down against each other, and then it is obviously a best-of-3 game of Magic between the individual members of the team. You can see there, player A with the yellow wristband plays the other player A with their yellow wristband. But it is best-of-3 not only in those games that they play with their opponents, it's best-of-3 out of the 3 teammates that play together. So if you have, as soon as you have 2 members of the team win their matches, that's it. It's all over Red Rover, and you can pack them up and go to the next one here. We're going to head, as a result, to our pre-recorded time walk match, ladies and gentlemen. On the back of the screen there, you can see the tables that also were underway at the beginning of the round. And we're going to head back, Zimon, for a bit of a replay, have a look at what's going on the time walk tables here. These guys already off to the races. Alessandro Lippi facing off against Akos Kenyeres. And once again,
Lippi, Estrati, and Versari are some of the most experienced Italian pro players. Estrati, of course, with the Proto Philadelphia victory. But I see these three play together every single time there is team magic to be played. So I'm not surprised to see them do really well here.
Kenyeres on the other side of the table is the national champion for Hungary, so he'll be leading his team to the WMC next week, World Magic Cup representing Hungary. And the other two, Norbert Sarkani and Ferenc Nagy, these guys also on the Hungarian team. Not an unusual occurrence. We've seen a lot of national teams turn out here in force, getting ready for the huge event coming next week. And they'll be looking to warm up their chops with a bit of a victory here in GP Rotterdam format, of course, team sealed, just like at the WMC. All the action will be brought to you live from twitch.tv/magic in 1 week's time, my friends. Don't miss it. So right now, Kenyeres with the Padim, the console of innovation, giving his self-assembler hexproof. Lippi, on the other hand, has deployed a creature here or there, a couple of artifacts, Servant of the Conduit, and some underhanded dealings going on as well.
Not only did Kenyeres find another self-assembler, but he also got his creature back from the graveyard. The 4/2, what's it called?
The Maulfist.
Oval Chase Daredevil.
Oh, sorry, Oval Chase
so
Daredevil.
That's actually a key card, in my opinion.
Maulfist squad still in the graveyard there.
To make the black artifact-based decks work.
Looks like Lippi may have attempted to use the underhanded designs on the hexproof self-assembler, the console of innovation. Having something to say about that? No, my friend. Can't touch this. So instead, it looks like the underhanded designs may have to choose a different target. We'll see how Lippi chooses to play it here.
Yeah, but what usually happens in these situations is that it was just an illegal play that gets corrected, and then you are not forced to activate. You're not forced to activate your permanent.
No, the judge will rewind the game, obviously, in the event that an illegal game action is taken, and the players have the option of taking things from there. Doesn't look as though Lippi wants to. Changes his mind, and the console of innovation hits the bin thanks to the underhanded designs.
It would have also drawn a card in the next upkeep, because Self-Assembler is the highest converted mana cost artifact on the battlefield.
Lippi probably cognizant of that, making sure the 1/4 isn't able to turn into a value engine from Kenyeres. And in comes the Cobra. 2-1 for 2. The ability that pushes the Cobra over the edge for me, obviously, is Death Touch. The fact that it can trade up in an effortless fashion means that Nanam Cobra really very, very good against some of the larger creatures in the format. Also can attack without really any fear of anything getting in the way. But it's the Marionette Master that's going to come down now. Another huge Fabricate card in black. Let's have a look at what this one does, of course. The Marionette Master is a 1-3 with Fabricate 3, and you see here 3 servo tokens coming down for Kenyeres. But the really interesting part of this card, of course, whenever an artifact dies, you can have your opponent lose life equal to Marionette Master's power. So at this stage, only 1, but still nice little drain whenever any of these servos hit the bin.
I think it's a real bomb. Marionette Master is really, really tough to beat.
Fabricate 3.
Fabricate 3
it's just
is
enormous.
Exactly. And if you are ahead on the board, it closes out games super quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are behind, it's a great way to stabilize. Also, this doesn't even mention all the artifact synergies and all of this other stuff that's going on.
We don't see a huge way in this set. There's not exactly a deck that takes advantage or abuses sort of artifact sacrifice or anything else like that. But still, with the sheer number of artifact creatures that are running around, I mean, a lot of them are going to just die naturally. You know, things like Nanam Cobras, as we discussed, the servo tokens and what have you. I mean, you're going to get in here and there with the Marionette Master, but I mean, that's not the reason you play the card. It's 4 bodies for 1 card,
and so versatile. If you need a 4/6 instead, maybe you already have some servos. You'll just start sending them in.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't block, they lose life. If they block, they lose 4. So it's a do or die scenario.
Lippy now. Oh, and Verdurous Gearhulk. How about this for an answer to the Marionette Master? Another hugely impactful enters the battlefield trigger. The Gearhulks at an absolute premium, of course. I mean, not just in Limited, in Constructed, they've shown their true power as titans of the game. But here we see the power of the Verdurous Gearhulk coming down and distributing 4 +1/+1 counters. It's got to be close to the best Gearhulk available in Limited.
I agree. It's not an easy choice, though, to make. You have so many options, of course, with 5 creatures and 4 counters to distribute. So I'm actually a bit surprised to see the counter hovering over the Cobra, which can get Death Touch naturally. I would have thought that, for example, the Pillar Bug is the more attractive target for it.
We see Pillar Bug looks like he's happy to put 1 counter on as well. I suppose that enables the server properly, but still that's confusing for me, seeing as often just either kind of unblockable or unattackable.
What is going on here?
Noxious Gearhulk now comes down here. I'll see you, Hulk, and raise you, and this is Akrakos Kenyeres. Look at that. A huge play here for him as the Self-Assembler comes off to snag itself 4 points of damage for Lippy. And that's going to buffer up Kenyeres' life total as well, all the way up to 15 after destroying that Verdurous Gearhulk.
I think Kenyeres heard you say that Verdurous Gearhulk might be the best Gearhulk.
Well, the only one I was going to say that you could argue is better than it is of course, the Noxious Gearhulk, really. I mean, removal, a staple to a huge body with a relevant evasion ability. This card does it it does it all. It slices and dices and can make toast for dinner.
And one of the key differences is that Noxious Gearhulk has a strong comeback potential, whereas Verdurous Gearhulk has more of this hitting it home kind of property.
I see what you mean. I mean, into an empty board, it's still a 5-mana 8/8 trample, still a good deal, but it doesn't have the stabilization potential that Noxious Gearhulk does. As we saw, they're gaining a bunch of life and now attacking like this. As we see, Nanam Cobra is going to pick off that Self-Assembler. Yeah. And that's still going to cost Lippy 1 life thanks to the trigger from the Marionette Master. Oh, but Kenyeres has an answer to it. Oh, very nice. Subtle strike. This is indeed a very subtle strike because this block now is going to cost Lippy 2 life and not 1, thanks to the +1/+1 counter on the Marionette Master. So Lippy loses 2 life thanks to the trigger from the Master here.
Also, Lippy loses his second artifact.
So meaning the underhanded designs can now no longer be activated. That's a key point. Here's Oval Chase Dragster, or Oval Chase Daredevil, I should say.
I love the Daredevil.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just it looks like one of these 4-mana 4/2s that you sometimes play in limited as your 23rd card, but then it comes back again and again and again from your graveyard. So it's it has like a weird indestructibility in the sense that it just keeps on coming back.
Just a nice recursive threat here as Weaponsmith, the enthusiast, comes down. It's going to drain Kenyeris for 2 thanks to the underhanded designs, and the underhanded designs is now back online. Servo tokens, meaning that Kaladesh's take on Metalcraft with cards like Inventor's Fair or underhanded designs, meaning that often there is a way for these cards to become active. Weaponcraft enthusiast now just sitting as a lonely 0-1, having deployed its servos around the battlefield.
It's really awkward for Lippy.
Yeah.
The lack of black sources makes it unable for him to really get much out of the lifelink from the pillar bug. Otherwise, he would have much better blocks. Just, for example, blocking a servo, gaining 3 would make a big difference in this race against Marionette Master and Noxious Gearhulk.
Yeah, and this is the key card here. Marionette Master is really putting a different, throwing a different edge into the mix here, because the servo token that's being blocked there by the servant of the conduit, that'd be a free block in any other situation. But that block has now cost Alessandro Lippi 2 life.
Also, Lippy is apparently not willing to double block the Noxious Gearhulk, which would be a super risky play.
Out of 5 now, Alessandro Lippi.
I'm just not sure how you want to win the game if you just take that much damage with a Marionette Master on the battlefield.
Here's a Kingpin now for Kenyeris.
Nice little interaction there. You get to search for the 3rd self-assembler of the game.
Oh, very nice indeed.
And then when the trigger has resolved, you get to scry to set up your next draw step.
Contraband Kingpin, one of the ways for these blue-black decks to shore up an early advantage. With a 1/4 lifelink. Doesn't stop there, though, when an artifact enters the battlefield. Scry 1. So Kenyeris playing a self-assembler and also getting a look at the top card, as you mentioned, Simon. Prakata Pillarbug is Lippy's response to that. Not the most impressive card.
No, he's getting outpowered here, and he has been for a couple of turns. I really like everything that Kenyeris is doing, and Lippy has really only shown the Verdurous Gearhulk. Otherwise, there wasn't too much synergy or aggression or anything of that sort. I see a lot of artifacts, but I don't see the payoff.
Now we finally see the underhanded designs. One of these artifact payoff cards, but again, not the hugest one here. Destroying the Marionette Master. Once again, Lippy here punished by his lack of black mana. Obviously, those Prakata Pillarbugs could be buffering his life total up, as you mentioned, Simon. But as it is, Kenyeris with a pretty stacked board and cards in hand. Lippy certainly on the back foot, it's fair to say, and Kenyeris knows this. He can smell blood in the water, and as a result, in come the clowns.
I don't know Kenyeris at all, but from this game, it seems like he has a very good feeling of what his creature should be doing when it's time to go on offense.
Yeah, I like the way he's navigated this. I feel like he really does know how... he's got a very clear plan for his path to victory. As we see Lippy line up the blocks here. Poor old Lippy's been struggling to keep his head above water, but he can feel the tide right.
Now he is forced to double block Noxious Gearhulk. It just might be too late.
So those are my blocks, says Lippy. And Kenyeris now. Looks like it might be a conclusion to the end of not just the card itself, but also the game here, as Kenyeris, rather handily, takes the first game with a very tidy conclusion, it's fair to say, Simon Götzen.
Yes, so actually only 1 game win for the Italians and 3 game wins for the Hungarians. That's going to be difficult to come back from.
Yes, it does mean that the Hungarians know they've got a little bit of breathing room, but it's only going to take 2 of them to win 1 more game for them to get over the line here. And the Italians, on the other hand, they have to win 5.
The game between Versari and Naj is now basically the key part, because you can't realistically expect, at least not with a positive outlook, that Kenyeris and Sarkani are both getting getting beaten by Lippi and Estradi. So
let's check in indeed with this game. Nagy and Vasari here, the Italian on the left or right-hand side of your screen, I should say, and Frank Nagy, the Hungarian team member, on the left. A Skyskiff going to open things up for the Hungarian Vasari with an aviary mechanic. And look at this. This is a great start for the Hungarian here. Veteran motorist going to come down and jump into that aeroplane. Scry 2. And in comes the Skyskiff for 3 now. That veteran motorist showing those young kids a thing or two with their rock music and their hip-hop. Aviary mechanic also going to chuck a couple of punches around, and followed up by an Eddie Tail Hawk. Gain some energy and pass the turn. Eddie Tail Hawk, a card with utility, especially paired with a lot of big beefy green creatures, but here not at its best.
You also get rewarded for being aggressive, but it's not very good at stabilizing.
No, and being aggressive here is the name of the game for Ferenc Nagy, as he plays a Brazen Scourge and gets in again now for 6. That veteran motorist taking to the skies.
Yeah, Vasari would have loved to have the mechanic on defense there to threaten a double block.
Oh, but check this out, he says. How about this one? Let me hit you with this. Here's Fleetwheel Cruiser, and both of these players trading blows like you wouldn't believe. Fleetwheel Cruiser, a very big hit here, along with the Eddie Tail Hawk and the Aviary Mechanic. So both of these players puffing and panting as they head towards the end of this race. And this, as you said, Simon, a pivotal game in this match.
I don't see this.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, mate. We'll tell you what you didn't see here in just a moment. Sky Sovereign console flagship. The vehicles keep getting bigger and bigger, from a Skyskiff to a Fleetwheel Cruiser, and now the biggest, baddest artifact creature of them all here. The vehicle getting across, coming in for 3 as well as it enters the battlefield. That takes care of the Aviary Mechanic, and my goodness me, Zimon, what a play here from Nagy.
Yeah, and Nagy takes things a little more slowly now that he has a bomb mythic on the battlefield and is not really scared of too much that his opponent could be having. So probably just preparing a victory next turn without much counterplay.
No, there's not a whole lot that Vasari can have here that might steal the game away from Nagy, especially after the flagship came down. But you'd think that one attack with Sky Sovereign is going to be enough to put this game out of Vasari's reach. He probably knows it as well. So Nagy not in a position where he needs to take risks.
Ferenc wants to, from my perspective, shoot the Hawk with the Sovereign trigger, and he has 8 power in the air if you count the Veteran Motorist trigger as well. So there is no reason to bring your opponent to 6 when you're threatening to win with an 8 power swing the turn after.
Brazen Scourge is going to power up this vehicle here, and Veteran Motorist is going to hop into the Skyskiff to block.
Yeah, that's a much more defensive line, which depends on Nagy's hand. If he has something else to follow up, then he probably can just rely on the Skyship to take things home.
Nagy now with the Sky Sovereign. That Veteran Motorist is mate, licking his chops, ready to get into the Skyship and take to the air. This Motorist has done a huge amount of work. I mean, it's got in for at least 4 extra damage over the course of the game, 3 or 4 points here, thanks to its +1/+1 ability. Looks like that might have been a removal spell of some kind. Oh, Chandra's Pyrohelix. And a Skyship trigger is going to end things in the favour of the Hungarian there. What an emphatic victory. I haven't seen something as determined and willful as that for quite a while, as Ferenc Nagy wraps things up in a very, very decided fashion against Matteo Vasari. And Zimon, you predicted that this game would be pivotal to see how things turned out between the Italians and the Hungarians, and you've got to think that the ball is in the court of the Hungarians now. One more game win away from a match win.
Exactly. It's really simple math. One game win and the Hungarians take it, or 4 game wins for the Italians, and that's the only two options, the only 2 outcomes at this point, ignoring ignoring draws because the time of the round runs out.
Bricata Pillabug, the play now for Lippi as we head back to this game between Canyeras and Lippi. We checked in with these guys earlier and we saw Canyeras win in a pretty handy fashion. Lippi now with many more creatures on battlefield.
I would always want to play the Assembler deck in this matchup. So many 2-2-1-2 on lead of really change or change something. So just the disadvantage.
Noxious comes in, Noxious gets out of the way. We're going to see an attack once again. Self-assembler in addition to the Dund operative. And Lippi having to make some pretty unattractive blocks here.
Not that unattractive, actually. This was a very aggressive line by Canyeras. He could have, for example, targeted Dillerbug with the Noxious Gearhulk's trigger, because the Daredevil, you have to assume, will return at some point. This was like the most aggressive line he could take, and he's not getting the best traits out of the deal.
So self-assembler trades here for the Pillabug. And the Seed Sculpt goes away as well, thanks to the operative. So there's those blocks, as you mentioned, Zimon, not so bad here. Here's another Titan. There's a nice way to move here. Very, very clean 2-for-1 for Chris. 6 mana and a full. Envy his position here. Lippi stuck with fewer cards in hand once again. Eager Construct is going to let both players scry. Lippi the first to send his card below. Canyeras happy enough with what he sees.
Yeah. 4-3 operative. Lippi could have double blocked there.
To remove the operative from the battlefield. That's right.
From the equation, yes.
Having it, the fact that it has Death Touch makes looking a real liability.
Well, he would have lost both of his creatures, of course, but it's a servo token and a 2-2, so they are not doing all that much for you at that point.
Follow-up play now. Weaponcraft Enthusiast. We've seen this guy a couple of times already today. Down come 2 servos accompanying the Otherborn Rogue. Otherborn Artificer, excuse me.
Yeah. We see now the double block that I mentioned 1 turn later getting punished by a combat trick, which of course could have happened the turn before, but it's still a bit of a weird sequencing.
Self-assembler number 2 coming down. You can see another self-assembler in Canyeras' hand, so choosing not to search out the third one, already in hand. And Verdurous Gearhulk now for Lippi. He'll be hoping this card has a huge impact. Let's make a 6-6 and a 3-3 here.
I think I would prefer a 5-5 and 2 2-2s, just based on the power and toughness of the creatures on the battlefield. But
and it's a tidy conclusion going to bring that Gearhulk to an end.
Might actually not be relevant here.
Lippi now with some very quick blocks being snapped off by those servo tokens. It's a double block on the Dund operative by the look of things.
Oh, by the way, if you look at the top at our scoring board, Norbert Sarkany took game 2.
Oh, there we go. So now this is a bit of a dead rubber here. Well spotted there, Simon Gertzen. Well done indeed to the Hungarian team here. They've managed to get up over the Italians without too much difficulty, I have to say. They've really put things away nice and neatly. Norbert Sarkany getting up against Samuela Estrati in straight sets, and Nagy, as we saw, winning with a lightning-fast aggressive deck there on the back of Sky Sovereign.
To be fair, the power level of the decks that the Hungarians are wielding seems absolutely through the roof.
It seems absolutely bananas, that's right. All done and dusted for round number 4 now. Indeed to the Hungarians, you see the scoreboard reflecting a very dominant performance from them. The Italians will be looking to lick their wounds and get underway with round number 5, as will we, my friends. We'll be back at GP Rotterdam without too much of a delay. Stick around, plenty more magic coming your way from GP Rotterdam. We'll see you soon.
Kaladesh is now available on Magic Duels. Build endless deck combinations with more than 1,000 unique cards. Play through hours of story with 50 campaign missions. Play Magic Duels free today on Xbox One, Steam, iPad, and iPhone. Optimism, innovation, and the spirit of creativity fill these pages, lavishly illustrated with the award-winning art of Magic the Gathering. Welcome to Kaladesh, a vibrant, beautiful plane where anything is possible. Join the heroic planeswalkers of the Gatewatch as they explore the Inventor's Fair and let your imagination soar alongside thopters and airships crafted by the best artificers in the multiverse.
Hey, welcome back to the booth. Brian David Marshall here with Matej Zadelkai. Matej, you get to do a little more World Magic Cup scouting this
Awesome.
round.
Yeah, I like to see all the strategy that teams are bringing. So bring more teams.
So we're going to see this round the Russian national team
Sweet.
and the Chinese national team. China, a country that's won at World Team Competition
Exactly,
before,
yeah.
2009 in Rome. Not seeing any of those players here, but we're going to see Ang Li, Yin Yu, and Yu Chen Liu.
Yeah, Yu Chen has been on a tear. Like he has 5 GP top 8s, which is a huge number considering a country like China does not really have such a big Magic playing community.
And Russia, we got Alexander Semkin, Alexei Supov, and Nikita Yurachiko. We're ready to go down to the floor, though. Let's watch these guys in action. Russia versus China, World Magic Cup preview. Hello and welcome to Round 5 coverage of Grand Prix Rotterdam. I'm Brian David Marshall, joined by Matej Zadelkai. And there you see facing the viewer, the Russian national team. 3 of the 4 members playing against the Chinese national team. And we're going to start on Alexander Semkin versus Ang Li.
Yeah, and Semkin is the national champion for Russia this year. There's been a change of guard within the Russian playing community, so I'm really excited to see how these guys will do.
Yeah, Ang Li won a WMCQ to join the Chinese team this year.
Yeah, it starts off with a Thriving Grubs, which is always decent in a black-red aggressive deck. Ooh,
a Narnum Cobra picks up a counter as it comes into play. Let's see, so red-black versus red-green. These are 2 of the more aggressive color pairs in this format.
One big advantage for green that it can have more fatties, more big creatures, which at some point usually the black-red deck stops being able to deal with. So look at that. Thriving Grubs gets through the Narnum Cobra. Let's see what the follow-up is. I wonder how good the durable handicraft will be for Alexander Semkin. As Spire Side, this is one of the most common starts for a black-red deck. The Thriving Grubs and the Spire Side Officer. The quality of red and black creatures is not that big in the early turns, but these are the staples.
You would have liked a Night Market Lookout on turn 1.
Exactly. That's a little better, yeah. Why not? Yeah, more handicraft counters. Building up a nice board here, Alexander Semkin.
Get some energy, too. See what he can do with that later on in the game.
Yeah, unfortunately, both these creatures have really poor toughness, so they don't really are able to trade that well into the creatures of Ang Li.
Yeah, I love durable handicraft in decks where you have like 2 3s.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, or a Thriving Ibex. You know, where you just get your creatures so big that you just creatures can't run through them.
Even like something like a High Spire Artisan is that much better.
It comes into play with 2 counters on it?
Yeah. Yum, yum.
All right. Ang Li shows no fear.
No fear, no stopping. I mean, he's the one with open mana, so he can represent some tricks here. Some subtle strikes, rush of vitalities, build to smash.
Yeah, all of those could very well be in his deck. But Sage of Salius claim trades with the Infiltrator. And there's Oval Chase Daredevil. We've seen a lot of this card today.
Yeah, and it's been very good. I've been very positively surprised by its performance, and it could match up pretty well against anything that Alexander can muster, but
he doesn't muster anything.
Yeah, it's just weird. And I like how this matchup is the matchup of power over toughness. All the creatures so far in play had more power than they had toughness. Considering the format has a lot of defensive creatures as well.
Attacks. Trades with the Cobra. No need to give it Death Touch. Now, is there an artifact follow-up here? There is. He gets back the Oval Chase Daredevil.
Yeah,
Future artifact spells become a little cheaper.
Yeah, that Foundry Inspector doing some value. Nothing again. What is going on?
She has enough mana to sacrifice.
Yeah, but no creatures
durable
anymore.
handicraft, but no creatures to put those counters on.
Yeah, unlucky draw from Alexander, but he might still surprise us with something.
Waiting to make a 7/7 core prowler next turn.
Yeah. Maybe something like a Fateful Showdown. Discard 2 more lands, draw some good cards.
Oh. Okay, there's the Syndicate Trafficker.
Looked like he was he's about to pick it up and read it. Okay, in response to the Power Helix. So Alexander did have something at least. He's just making sure that he says it's in response to the Trafficker. Otherwise, Ang Lee could sacrifice to the Trafficker and it would get a +1/+1 counter. Yeah.
Now it comes into play.
It's important to communicate, especially when English is not your first language, and the players managed admirably here.
Oh, I've been very impressed with how many teams meet in the middle on English.
Yeah.
With such an international competition.
That's
here.
true.
Even some teams within their own ranks. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, Thriving Grubs comes in.
Yeah, Alexander Semkin really needs a good blocker here, and even then it might not be enough because look at that, more power to the board for Ang Lee.
He hasn't played any creature with more toughness than power yet.
Like none of the players has. I like it. Like, look at the card. Hey, go. Not much I can do here. It's might be a quick match.
Yes, it is. Well, it's certainly a quick game one here as Ang Lee takes game one. And, not an amazing draw from him either.
No.
The red-black deck doesn't really want to have 7 lands in play on turn 7 there.
Imagine if Alexander Semkin had the Chandra's Pyro Helix in one of the earlier turns. At the point he was dead here, he could have easily been at like 10 more life if the cards had fallen in a different way. I think he might have mulliganed as well because he had just had very few cards overall, and this is what happens sometimes.
All right, now we're going to switch over. We're watching Yin Yu on your right, Alexei Isupov here on the left, and there we see, now we see one of the go-wide artifact decks we've been talking about. But no, Subtle Strike, keeping the Lore Broker alive.
Yep.
Taking down one of those servo tokens.
Yeah, remember the servo was a 2/2 because of the Chief of the Foundry.
Yep. Malfunction looks like it's keeping a Thriving Ibex tapped. Cogworker's Puzzle Knot threatens to make another 2/2 at a moment's notice.
Yeah, look at that. Yin Lu is playing Bastion Mastodon as a 4/5 without any access to white mana just yet.
Yeah, just yet.
He might have some later on.
So here's a Propeller Pioneer. Makes a token. That's a 2/2.
Yeah, it's still trying to be raised out. You can see there's white mana.
There is white mana in his deck because I see a Cloud Blazer.
Still, Bastion Mastodon just solid on its own. If you need a big creature, then you can have it in a pinch. And if you can give it Vigilance, it's a nice bonus.
Wow.
That's a big guy, though.
Yeah, Gear Seeker Serpent. Seeking to end this game, put the Chinese team up in 2 matches. He has enough mana to make it unblockable.
Yeah, and the swing for 5 is just so huge. And it's nice whenever even just a small discount is great.
That's it. Alexei Usupov picks up his cards. Going to game 2 here as well. 2 games now, 2 matches here. China is up a game in each of them. We're going to take a look at everybody shuffling, it looks like.
It looks like game 1 ended on table C as well.
Yeah, we'll try to get your result as soon as we go back to our score graphic.
Some big sideboarding going on here for Ang Lee on the right there. It just looks like he's swapping out a significant amount of cards. Maybe I saw this, someone mentioned, I think it was Javier Dominguez, where he has like a black-red aggressive deck. This sideboard, he said, I can go really defensive if I need to.
We've seen that with a lot of these decks. If you end up with all the blue-white cards, or if you end up with all the black-red cards, you do have the ability to optimize your deck in one direction, but you have plenty of cards that just won't make it into that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can have that experience in regular draft as well. Cards that seem decent in main deck, once you play aggressive decks, you can just really make the necessary swap rounds, improve your curve, and just win like that. But also on the other side, when you go against up against the control decks, you can really you don't need your thriving turtles against an aggressive deck against a slow deck. You can just find some good late game. I used to do quite where I like boarding stuff like Tezzeret's Gambit in the late game.
Sure. Yeah, you just want something that's just going to eventually let you just take over the game.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see. Do we have the deck list?
So we have the deck list and we have the update. It was
Okay.
Nikita Yurochko, who's won game 1 over the Chinese. So it's not a complete domination by the Chinese teams just yet. And speaking of Ang Lee, who was sideboarding a lot, so we saw he's on. It might not be Ang Lee because I see. Oh wait, this is their This is their deck list. Yeah, there we go. Black red. But he has interesting. He has, for example, Midnight Oil in the sideboard.
Oh wow.
Double Night Market Lookout in Black Red deck in his sideboard. But I just assume it's because they might not have too many vehicles in the pool overall. Double Brazen Scourge. There's double Salivating Gremlins, 2 Thriving Grubs. So it looks.
So we thought he could go to a more controlling deck, but maybe he can go to a more aggressive deck.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Can go even lower.
Yeah, he has quite a few artifacts there, but. Interesting. Yeah, he does have some vehicles as well. He has the Renegade Fair Sky Skiff and a Beaumont Bazaar Barge, but he's not playing the Lookouts.
Wow.
Which I'm surprised. And he's also only playing 1 out of 2 Spireside Infiltrators.
Interesting.
And I think the Black-Red Drain You deck is actually very solid, so I'm surprised they're not running it. Yeah, his deck is looking solid otherwise, though. Like the cards are good.
How do you feel about a card like Midnight Oil for a deck like this?
Great. I feel it would be great if he ever got around to casting it. He only plays 16 lands, but having that card as to the top of your curve, especially in a deck like he has,
where you're just going to dump out all these creatures.
Hey, plus he has 2 Welding Sparks and an unlicensed disintegration as well,
wow.
so like he has the removal necessary. So yeah, maybe that's what he's thinking about. But overall, I don't feel. This is not the experienced Chinese team that we've seen over the past year. Li Bo being one of the most famous Chinese players. He was on that national team that won Worlds back in 2009. And he was just a regular of the Pro Tour for several years in that period. So this might be the new era of Chinese players.
There you see our our other feature match going on in the background, by the way. So that's... we have Francesco Cipolleschi, Riccardo Picciafiocchi, and Raffaella Zaccarelli.
Yeah, these names are tough.
Against Matteo Maure, Marco Carmeluzzi, and Alessandro Portaro. And that's
a solid match. The Italian mirror match.
Including World Magic Cup champion Carmeluzzi.
Yeah. Not qualified this year, though, but the Italian team is looking solid again with Mattia Rizzi and Andrea Mengucci.
Appetite for the Unnatural takes out a Sky Skiff before anything untoward could happen. Yeah,
the sideboarding must have taken a long time because this was the last match to finish out of those 3, and they're the first up and running here in.
Whoa, Bristling Hydra.
Oof, that's a rough one for Yurochko.
For the red-black deck to deal with, yeah.
I mean, at least he has some power on the board in the Spireside Infiltrator. But you can also gain 2 life. Yeah.
If your opponent ever gets more than, gets to like 6 energy, gets to 2 activations, it becomes almost hopeless to be able to deal with that card.
Nikita has Welding Sparks, and I'm just wondering why he didn't try maybe attacking first, but I guess he would just then break into the Cobra with the Spireside Infiltrator and not had a opportunity. I don't think Yuchen would have wanted to expose his Bristling Hydra there.
Dund Operative comes down for Yurochko. Oh.
Jeez. Yeah,
wow.
Nature's Way.
Nature's Way. Bristling Hydra is going to take out the Infiltrator.
And
that's not a fight card. That's the thing that's so brutal about that.
And it gets Vigilance and Trample as well, so not much Nikita can do here in this spot, I don't think.
card's such a backbreaker.
But now that's a good card for Nikita. He drew a PNLR.
Oh,
So
wow.
he can get an artifact in the form of a Topter and suddenly have a 3/2 operative that can trade with the Hydra. And look at that. Yuchen Liu is only down to 2 cards. Doesn't have that much going on. And while Yurechko has Subtle Strike, PNLR, and Welding Sparks, certainly not bad.
Gets his Thopter eventually.
There we go.
Hiding in the pile of servos.
Servo's much more common.
Yeah. It's like searching for a Thopter in a pile of servos. A famous saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Kaladesh saying.
Yeah. All right. In comes the Cobra.
Packing away.
Rich goes at 12.
Yeah, he's gonna
He's going to subtle strike here.
pump his flyer.
Yeah.
Wants to take it to Yuchen Liu.
He can start doing some work with that. He's got the ability to pump it with PNLR.
Yeah. Also has a Foundry's creature now to follow that up. So he can take it into the air. He just has to make sure that his artifact stays alive. If Yuchen ever finds removal for that Thopter,
Yeah.
suddenly there's a problem.
And gets in with the operative too.
Interesting. He's just getting aggressive. Let's play your Foundry's creature and leave up the Welding Sparks too. Yeah, I think Yurechko just wants to race here. I think he's fine with being in a race situation.
But he can block with the Foundry's creature here. It's got an extra point of power from the artifact in play.
It's also quite risky. Because now if Yuchen Liu uses the ability, goes for Nikita goes for the Welding Sparks, no cards in hand, but here if Yuchen Liu had some sort of trick, it could have gone very wrong.
Wow.
But if it goes through, it's a good trade.
It's got something.
So +2/+2 hexproof? No, ornamental courage. So +1/+3. So it's gonna make it a 5/4, and then with 3 more toughness, 7 toughness total.
But it's going to take 4 from the Welding Sparks because he's got an artifact.
Yeah, they should still trade.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
And he's like,
2 for 2.
You
Yeah.
see that kind of wistful, like, oh.
Yeah. Oh well. That's the thing. It was a 2 for 2, but one of the 2 for Yuchen Liu was rare
Yeah.
with a huge board impact, and now just Glint Sleeve Artisan.
Now he's got to decide what he wants. I think he's reaching for a servo. Yep. Oh, accidentally reached for a Thopter. What are the odds? All right.
I'm looking at the Yuchen Liu's deck, and
Here's a Prophetic Prism
It's
for Yurechko.
yeah, it's certainly not bad. He's only playing like 1 out of 2 Pima's Outriders because he has 3 Nature's Way.
Oh my gosh.
That's really good in a green deck as well.
You could do like 3 drafts and not see 3 of those.
Exactly, yeah. His deck seems like a solid green-white deck. Cultivator with Blades as the top end.
So the Thopter token starts getting to work. Gets in, gets a little bit of a pump. Here's a Thriving Rhino now for Yuchen Liu.
Problem is the air. The Thopter is really bashing in. PNLR doing work.
Yeah, he's able to get in for 5 with it this turn if he wants. You send in the Dund Operative too?
No, not anymore. Yeah, just pump 3 times, take 5. Yuchen Liu down to 8.
Wow.
You need to get Yurechko not messing around. And remember, we're showcasing this match because both teams will show up with this lineup at the World Magic Cup. Of course, both have 1 more teammate.
But what I've seen talking to teams is generally if the 3 members were playing here, they agree that it makes the most sense for those 3 players to then play the team sealed a leg of the World Magic Cup.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, this will be the format of the first 3 rounds of the tournament.
Yeah, Nikita drew in Vengeance Goggles. it's not gonna improve the clock that much, but at least he can maybe create a better blocker with the Pia. Have it be a 3-4. Oh, it seems pretty good. He's going aggressive. I like it. There's no good double block for Yuchen Liu here, but of course, it also seems unlikely that Yuchen has a trick here.
Yeah.
after previous turn. And yeah, there's also, we know Yuchen has a 3 Nature's Way, but that's a sorcery, so.
So he just puts the token in front of Pia.
Yeah.
And we're going to pump that twice and drop Yuchen Liu down to 5 here. If Nikita wins this, that'll be the first match of this larger match here of the set.
Yeah, Nikita, look at that. Yuchen Liu just has 2 lands. He just flooded out completely. And now there's also Renegade Fair for Nikita Yurochko. So.
And he can also just sack his Prophetic Prism and make it so that the
he could, but
can't block, but he just doesn't even need to. That's the hand. So first match goes to Team Russia here. Nikita Yurochko wins 2-0. Yuchen Liu looks at his deck. He's like, "Where were you? Where were all these awesome cards?"
Yeah, he probably sideboarded in some more defensive cards.
Yeah, you see the ornamental courage,
High Spire Artisan.
High
as
Spire
well.
Art. Yep.
Yeah, so he definitely had a lot of options in his sideboard, and so he went with a little more defensive route. But if you draw some land, there's not much you can do here. And yeah, the traditional blue-black control with a white splash.
Yes.
Another staple in this Team Seal format. But you can see, like, the splash here is great. Cloudblazer and Restoration Gearsmith.
Oh, wow. Please tell me the Restoration Gearsmith brought back the Cloudblazer.
I don't think so. Yin Yu is on 22, so I think there was only one Cloudblazer activation.
Oh, wow, look at this, though. He's taking down both flyers. He's got a Tidy Conclusion, Propeller Pioneer blocking the Cloudblazer.
Well, not a bad turn. And Alexei Isupov's board is looking decent enough. Like, he has the Mastodon and the Ibex.
But we've reached the Prakata Pillar Bugs bouncing off of each other to gain life phase of the game.
At this point, it's probably better for Alexei. Oh, Underhand Designs.
Yeah, Underhand Designs. He's got at least 2 artifacts in play. He's got 3, actually. So he can kill something if he needs to.
That's why I'm surprised he didn't attack with the Mastodon. Suddenly, it's probably either kill the non-operative before combat and try to attack. But there's just so much toughness. I'm just really not used to seeing so many preacher toughness after the last games we've seen. So, yeah.
So Dunda Operative is going to trade with the Prakata Pillar Bug here.
I'm sure Alexei Isupov is quite happy about that, with 2 bigger creatures on the battlefield.
Oh, we see a Subtle Strike in hand.
That card has been
just
really
spectacular.
Good. Yeah, for such a what looks like a small effect.
Okay, I'm going to kill your.
Oh.
I'm going to kill your. Oh.
No, it was on the board.
Yeah, it's going to get the underhand designs. It's going to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I think it was the creature that he wanted to destroy anyway.
Right, and the Subtle Strike still does manage to kill the servo for Yin Yu there.
Oh, look at Alexander Semkin and Ang Lee are going to go to game 3.
Oh, wow.
I hope we get to see some of that as well.
Both players just...
Drago.
Drago, yeah.
The classic. Oh, I think that was a Gearseeker Serpent.
It was.
And that's a way to finish a game.
Yeah, that's the card, I keep looking to see show up in these blue-white and black-blue matches. It's really the thing that can just clear away through. But there's the Fumigate. Another card we've been talking about a lot. Look at this.
Yeah, and gain 9 life.
Wow. And get really your game breaker there in the Gearseeker Serpent.
Yeah, it looked like Alexei Isupov was just drawing blanks, but he was just slow rolling a Fumigate and waiting for Yin Yu to commit something to the board.
Follows up, wow, with a Glint Sleeve Artisan. He really was. And wow, a servo exhibition. So goes from kills everything and now has 5 points of power on the board.
Yeah, and Yin Yu really overextended there. Now has no follow-up. Has to take 5 here. Usually 1/1s are not that impressive, and people hold back creature. And the Wisp
Here
Reaver
comes a
Angel.
Wisp Reaver Angel to reset
Yeah.
the Glint Sleeve Artisan, get another servo.
Jeez. That was a good draw. Just a thriving turtle.
Thriving Turtle.
Yeah, it looks like Alex Acepo will be able to even this out.
Right, sends in everybody. Turtle blocks the Glint Sleeve.
Take 8.
Takes 8 though. Wow. Yeah, falls to 14.
Yeah, done 9 already because there was no change in life till the last round. So at the last turn, our life total update was a little slow.
I gotcha. So we're down to 9 here.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a very bad blocker.
I've drawn that card in this situation.
Yeah, it just feels like such pain.
But in this case, it can block.
At least you can trade with the angel, yeah. But like, there's still so much damage coming through.
That's like the best case scenario for that card.
You would have preferred if it could block one of the ground blockers first. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. And Alexei Isopov evens this up. One game apiece here. We got 2 game 3s going on. If Russia takes either of them, they win the match.
Yeah, and remember, both teams are still undefeated. Both teams picked up a draw, but still being at 3 wins and a draw is very decent. And we get to see the start of this game.
Oh wow!
Now the Russia just needs to pick up 1 game only, where China has to win both games to win. Yeah, looks like they're helping each other.
So there's some mulliganing going on here.
Yeah. There might be some moves as well, you know. Nikita Yurchik might have been moving his chair to be closer with his teammates. This is one of the things that I really like about the Team GP the week before the World Magic Cup. Not only you get like so many good players, which are only natural for this very skill-intensive format, but also you get to see the countries, you know, joining in. It's great, and next year is going to be even better with 2 team events around the World Magic Cup.
All right. Alexander has the first play. Plays Narum Cobra.
Now remember, this is the match where we expect to only see creatures with more power than toughness. And so far, so good.
Spire Side Infiltrator for Ong Lee. Then you see these pauses now, you know, players are now starting to consult with each other.
That's why the pace of play has slowed down a little bit. Maybe Alexei Spov has some decisions to do, like a mulliganing or something.
Fairground Trumpeter. With no ways to gain counters anywhere in sight.
Yet. That's the important bit.
The card can get out of hand very quickly. Though against a black-red deck, probably not as scary as it is against some other decks.
Yeah, 3-mana 2/2 is not the most impressive of stats. But we'll see what Ang Lee is going to put together here.
Okay, you see a hand come in from the side. I'd like you to play the Oval Chase Daredevil. Okay.
Yeah, well, Yuchen Liu is by far the most experienced player on the Chinese team, and since his match is already finished, he can help out Ang, and even Yin Yu in the middle there, just sitting between them, I assume.
Okay, we talked about counters, so High Spire Artisan comes down, decides to put a +1/+1 counter on, and that at the end of the turn means he gets to put another counter, or a counter, on Fairground Trumpeter, because a creature gained a +1/+1 counter this
Awesome.
turn. Yeah.
I like this interaction. I love it with Thriving Rhinos and Thriving Grubs and
but
whatnot.
also with the Fabricate creatures.
Works very well. Pima Outrider, yeah. Daredevil swinging in, and we've seen it again. And by the way, not only did Alexander Semkin do the combo break by playing creature with same power as toughness, he added creature with toughness actually to the board, which is nice to see. But we talked about this. It might be a part of the sideboarding. High Spire Artisan is usually not a card that's that great in red-green because it's just way too defensive. But he might have decided, okay, Ang Lee's the aggro deck. I'm going to be the control deck. And now both teams deep in conversation about what to do. I have a look at the table there, and just both players, their heads are 10 centimeters away from each other, and they're just whispering their plans to each other.
Besides, Narnum Cobra is worth a trade here, but wow. Bowman Bizarre Barge, draw a card, get my Oval Chase Daredevil back.
Yeah, and it fits so nicely with the Spire-Style
and it climbs right onto the Bizarre Barge next turn.
Yeah. Yeah, Spire-Style Infiltrator is just begging for it. Just let me on this thing.
Yeah. And this is one of the things you can do with this deck too, is like he can just crew that at the end of his opponent's turn, even though it's summoning sick, and just get an extra point of damage in there.
That's why the Night Market Lookout is so good. Like we've seen, Marshall and Luis malign that card a little bit in draft as just a 1/1 with a low board impact. But in these sorts of black-red deck, it's really shining, especially if you pick up those Sky Skiffs.
Right.
Just keep pinging away.
Yeah, your opponent often will have ways to deal with the Sky Skiffs in combat.
Yeah, exactly.
Very limited ways to deal with them if they're just sort of passively doing their thing. All right, only 3 lands for Semkin here, and that's been true for a while.
Another Trumpeter.
Another Trumpeter.
Like he has a plan, but I think he needs to untap and just do something with +1/+1 counters.
And we see Angley decides, I would like my Bizarre Burge to briefly become a creature at the end of your turn. Take 1 from when the Spire-Side Infiltrator becomes tapped. 6 land.
And this is a little awkward for Semkin. He cannot find any. Good double block among his creatures. It's either a 2-for-1 or anything like that. So the Barge I'm sure will swing in for 5 here.
Yep.
Plus the 1.
As if on cue. Oh, you see, he tapped it, attacked, and then his teammate said, "Don't forget the point."
Yeah.
From the Infiltrator, and now,
yeah.
Again, we're seeing universal hand language here.
You have to be careful about these sort of things. But yeah, as you can see, Alexander Semkin takes it. But it seemed like.
But he didn't get.
The trigger was missed.
The trigger was missed.
Yeah.
Should be a 13 if. I had sort of seen that, and kind of one of the interesting. Oh, why didn't you do that?
Yeah. No, but that's what teammates are for as well.
Yeah.
They're there to remind you about these things. And look at that. The Daredevil makes an appearance again. And a Sky Skiff.
There's a Sky Skiff.
Yeah. Speak of the devil.
Alexander Semkin just wants to see a 4th land here. There it is.
So does he have something with +1/+1 counters?
How about a Hunt the Weak? That's my guess.
Ooh. Oh.
How about a Furious Reprisal?
Good. Very good.
Wow.
That was a swing and a half there. Furious Reprisal, taking care of both creatures. Now just swing in.
Wow, look at this turn for Semkin. The 4th land unlocked the Furious Reprisal. Now both of Ang Lee's vehicles are locked.
Yeah. But yeah, Ang Lee still has plenty of cards, but now he has to decide if he wants to keep his creatures back and his vehicles, or if he still wants to stay aggressive. That was a blowout. This is one of the spots where Furious Reprisal is really nice against these high power, low toughness decks. Get the value, 2-for-1, boom.
7th land for Ang Lee. Oh, wow. Look at this card, Morpho
Great.
Squad.
It's nice because it gives him 2 creatures.
And both of those creatures can crew.
Perfect combination
Perfectly.
of power of toughness, yeah.
He gets his, oh my gosh, of course. Gets his Daredevil back.
Look, he's attacking. He's swinging.
Wow, swings for 7 here.
Yeah, this is a race.
Yeah.
Another Furious Reprisal? Or Chandra's Pyro Helix?
Swamp make obsolete.
Yeah. There's a mountain from Semkin. I think I saw Riparian Tiger in his hand, but I'm sure he has other things going on there. He's already consulting with his teammate Nikita.
He really wants to Hunt the Weak here.
Oh, yeah, well.
think he has another Furious Reprisal in his hand.
Think so?
I do.
But I think at this point he just has to decide if he wants to leave something back.
Well,
He doesn't have a 2-turn clock. He only has 6 power as well, so
right.
he might. That's a tough spot. You can also Furious Reprisal, just the Malphus squad, leave the High Spire Artisan back, and just attack with the 2 Trumpeters afterwards. That would put Angli down to 7, which is also not ideal, so no, I don't like that plan.
Alexander talking with his teammates.
Oh, okay. That's a lot of damage. Latin Nuhelion, 3 mana 4/4 haster.
And he's gonna keep his High Spire Artisan back, but get in with everybody else.
Oh, this is 9 damage, so quite decent here for Alexander Semkin. This is truly a race.
But he needs, if Ung Lee has another creature, he's coming in for quite a bit because he can crew with something else and still get in with that Malphus squad.
Yeah, definitely the Malphus squad will most likely get through because it has menace. And we know he has the Daredevil that he can use to... he also has the Welding Sparks.
Wow, Welding Sparks to take down the High Spire Artisan.
Yeah, it was a risky play from Semkin.
This needs to be a Chandra Pyro Helix here.
To
have a hope of winning this game.
Or some pump spell. Ornament, Courage, Blossoming Defense.
Sure. Talking it through. Okay, it's going to die, it looks like.
Oh no, it is.
What is he going to follow? No, he passes the turn.
Well, let's see.
That's dangerous.
Very much so. Might just be over for the Russian captain here. Show us your cards, Ang Lee.
He's like, no.
But it's also a little risky as well on his side of the board. If Alexander Semkin does have something, swinging with both vehicles, it just exposes him. He can only then block with the Daredevil, which puts him to dead. But he has an Eco Construct.
Eco Construct. Both players scry. On pushes.
Ooh.
Oh. Alexander keeps his on top. Here's the Oval Chase Daredevil.
I think this should be enough. Just use the creatures.
He's going to crew both his vehicles.
This is also, I don't think there's anything that Alexander can do except maybe Ornamental Courage.
Ornamental Courage would let him live, but no. That's that match. Ong Lee wins 2-1. That means the greater match is tied now. And it's really going to come down to this game 3 here between, oh, wow, look at this.
Oh no.
Between Alexei Yusupov and Yin Yu. And this is kind of where we left them.
Yeah, the grind is on. But look, Yin Yu is only
at
4. Yeah.
He's at 4.
Yeah, and look at Alexei Yusupov really went wide here. He has already 3 servers and a Chief of the Foundry. Also a Dukar Scavenger. He just went as wide as possible, and it could be enough for Yusupov. But the problem is, Yin has a Contraband Kingpin as well as a Caterpillar Bug. So his blockers are actually very nice against the army of Yusupov there.
Again, players are, when you see them pointing at their cards, they're not talking to their opponent, they're talking to their teammates.
I wonder if the Serpent is in play or in the graveyard. It's not exactly clear. 'Cause I don't see his deck.
Certainly doesn't look in play.
No, it's probably in the graveyard. Yeah, this is where you see things really slowing down.
Oh, yeah.
The deciding match, game 3.
3 heads.
3 heads. Neither player wants to make a mistake. Yeah.
See Chief of the Foundry hanging out there in the back by those servos.
Really helping out. Alexei Isupov has the advantage of having the Skyscroll Harrier, even though it's matched pretty well by the Dukar P-Foul, but any sort of tricks can take care of that.
Okay. There's a Dund Operative. Pass the turn back.
More pillar bugs.
Just passes the turn.
Isupov might be setting up for a Fumigate again. We've seen it before.
Oh, right.
It was
right.
in game 2 where Alexei Isupov just
Oh,
plays.
he does. The Serpent was in play. Activates, gets in for 5.
That's a clock. Yeah, the problem is Isupov can't really target into those lifelink creatures, even though he does have plenty of 2/2 servos.
Lifelink, some Death Touch.
Yeah.
You know, the possibility of Subtle Strike, Rush of Vitality, things he has to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. But look, he has quite a few cards in his hand. Maybe he's just slow rolling here a little bit, trying to set up a better hand for a Fumigate. We don't quite see everything he has in his hand.
All right. Come in again with the Serpent.
And that's how these decks win games.
There's a Filigree Familiar.
Doesn't give away Fumigate yet. You know, it's a card you don't mind cashing in on.
Absolutely not.
Ooh, but Inu is leaving back quite a bit. He has a Restoration Gearsmith in his hand too, so if the worst were to happen, he can bring stuff back.
And you play very differently post Fumigate reveal in the subsequent games.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure that's a big part of their conversations. It's like, no, I'm not going to play this guy. He has a Fumigate in his deck. Even I don't speak Chinese, but I'm pretty sure that's what they've been saying.
He is looking at his Restoration Gearsmith, though. See a Dai Young in his hand. Starting to see some cards.
Plenty of good cards, yeah. He just has to be careful about removal spell from Isupov, taking care of the P-Foul, for example, which would enable the Harrier to swing in, or something that would deal with his lifelink creatures.
He's like, okay, we're going to go with the Dai Young. That's the plan.
So we're going to kill the Glint-Sleeve Artisan.
Interesting.
Well, it doesn't have any more energy. I'm pretty sure he would have preferred to kill the Harrier or the Chief of the Foundry.
But just really wants to keep the army as small as possible
from
having it run wide around him.
I'm sure Alexei Isupov wouldn't also mind like an Inspired Chart or anything, but I don't see a Fumigate though in his hand just yet.
He got Yin-Yu down to 4, but he has not been able to finish the job.
Yet.
That's
the key part. Yeah, I think Yin-Yu's keeping the Subtle Strike as well in his hand. Pillar Bug it is.
all right.
A 3/4 Pillar Bug.
3/4 lifelinking sometimes Pillar Bug.
Indeed.
But Isupov's going to go down to 4 here, at least.
at least. Yeah.
There's a subtle strike in hand.
And both players counting the number of creatures, very monitoring very carefully. They want to make sure they leave up the right amount of mana.
Right colors of mana. All right.
4-4. Lawless Broker. Let's see Fumigate. Alex Asapov. Your opponent tapped out. It's just the plains. And I don't think he has the Fumigate in his hand.
No. We reach the point where he considers just attacking with everything. See what happens.
Well, yeah, he can figure it out by himself quite fast.
Yeah. Peafowl can't fly.
Just yet.
Yeah.
There's
He doesn't have any islands attacked.
he does the on top of the screen. Just hit.
Okay. I see
almost
those two
out of
lands.
sight.
Yeah. So he can lifelink and fly his
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. So I'm sure he's happy about that. So there's Pillar Bug. Just